Why does this always happen to me? Why do people treat me bad? Does this sound like you? Because if it does, you have a victim mentality that is one of the biggest forms of self-sabotage out there. But you're in luck, because today I'm helping you getting rid of it. As a pre-qualified psychologist, I worked with many clients with mental health difficulties. And most of them went through very challenging life experiences. But what I noticed was that those that had the better life outcomes and the highest likelihood of recovery were those that stopped seeing themselves as victims and started taking responsibility for their lives. Research shows that having a sense of control over your life is the stronger predictor of happiness, more than wealth, more than status, more than relationships. And yet, many people still choose to adopt a victim mindset that is basically the opposite of having a sense of control over your life. This topic hits very close to home because I had it. I had a victim mindset. I love to portray myself as a victim until I realized that my victim mentality was actually taking away from me my most important resource, that is my sense of agency. That is me recognizing that I have the ability to make positive changes into my life. So today we're going to explore whether you have a victim mindset, where it comes from, and how it is damaging your life. And then I will give you 3 mindset shifts that will help you getting rid of your victim mindset. But first, in case you don't know me, hi, my name is Bri, I'm a pre-qualified psychologist, and on this channel we're all about using psychology and science backed up tools to improve our life, our well-being, and to self-develop. So if that is something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. Now, how do you find whether you have a victim mentality? I'll give you a few points. You have a victim mentality if you think things like, why me? Why people keep treating me badly? Why did they do this to me? If you think everyone and everything is out to get you. If you make excuses for avoiding responsibility for things. If you ruminate about past victimization. If you want others to recognize that you are indeed a victim. And if you feel disempowered within your life. Now, obviously, we're not born with a victim mentality. So where does a victim mentality comes from? For many people, it comes from childhood. Receiving excessive criticism or not having our needs met, or being raised by parents that keep talking and talking about how life is unjust and how bad things keep happening to them might lead you to develop a victim mindset. It can come from a feeling of not being seen or not being cared for, and thinking that maybe if people were feeling sorry for us, they will finally notice us and care for us as a consequence. But also, unfortunately, a victim mindset can come from actual victimization. So from actual trauma we can't really move from. And this is a tragic reality because yes, in our world people go through traumatic events every day, and for many people it is almost impossible to move on from post-trauma. But we still have to try, because especially after something terrible has happened to you, you have the actual right of living an amazing life. Now, with all of this said, why is a victim mindset damaging? First of all, a victim mentality can drain your energy. This is because a victim mentality can have a huge impact on your mood and your emotions, your behaviors, the relationships that you have with others, your health, and in general, in all aspects of your life. But also, a victim mindset can reduce our sense of agency into our own life. What this means is that we won't be seeing ourselves as people that can actually take meaningful actions towards changing our lives. We see our lives as happening to us rather than happening because of us. And this is a big problem, because this is effectively self-sabotage. You are self-sabotaging yourself and perpetuating a cycle of unhappiness because you are unable to move from your victim mentality and take action towards your life. Also, a lot of people would use past negative experiences as a justification for not taking any actions in the present. But also, when we are stuck in a victim mindset, our empathy towards the suffering of others will also reduce, because we will be so focused into our own suffering and into our own victimhood that then we won't be able to see the suffering of others, and we won't be able to be of any support for them, thus sabotaging our relationships. So with all of this said, how do we get rid of it? In order to overcoming a victim mindset, we need to do something that is called cognitive reframing. That is basically changing your thoughts about your own situation. This will allow us to recognize our personal agency, taking responsibility for our action and actually working towards change. And for this reason, we're going to use 3 mindset shifts. And the mindset shift number 1 is you can actually choose to take responsibility for your life. We need to recognize that sometimes we are responsible for things not because they are our fault, but because we are the only ones that can change them. You can think, this is what life has given me, and I will make active and intentional choices about how I engage with them. We need to understand that our happiness in life is strictly correlated to our sense of agency and responsibility. Specifically, to something that in psychology we call locus of control. Now, people can have either an internal or an external locus of control. Individuals with an internal locus of control believe that they have control over their life and life outcomes through their actions. On the other hand, people with an external locus of control believe that their destiny depends on factors that they cannot control, that whatever happened to them in life is beyond their own agency and their own responsibility. So they generally see the world in more negative terms and let their emotion get the best of them. Research shows that people with an internal locus of control are much happier than those with an external locus of control. But the point is, how do we make the switch? How do we change from having an external to an internal locus of control? An interesting psychological experiment you can try is to start asking yourself what rather than why questions. So instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? You would ask yourself, what is actually happening? Instead of asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling? Instead of asking yourself, why are they doing this to me? Ask yourself, what can I do to respond better? Instead of, why do bad things happen to me? Ask yourself, what is another way for me to look at the situation? Whilst why questions will lead us to see our limitation, what questions will help us see our potential? Why questions keep us trapped in the past, whilst what questions help us see the future? The psychologist and Holocaust survivor Edith Eger says that victimization comes from the outside the world. So you can be made a victim from the world around you. However, victimhood comes from the inside. So whether or not you are a victim is up to you to decide. She says that at some point we will all suffer abuse, affliction caused by circumstances that are beyond our control. However, no one can make you a victim but you. We become victims not because of what happens to us, but because we choose to hold on to our victimhood. And honestly, if an Holocaust survivor decide that they don't want to be the victims, even though they have been victimized by others, then I don't see why any of us should decide to have a victim mindset. I'm sorry. Mindset shift number 2, the world is not out to get you. When we have a victim mentality, we tend to think that bad things happen to us because the world is out to get us. And we are very unlucky because we keep finding ourselves in negative circumstances. But what if I told you that this is actually a trick from our brain? Now, if you have watched this channel long enough, you will know that our brain can be our best friend, but also our worst enemy. And it's not doing it intentionally. She just wants to help us at the end of the day. But unfortunately, sometimes the message that she sends us might not be completely accurate. Now, our brain gathers information from past experiences and tries to make predictions about the future. So, for example, if you grew up in an unstable environment, environment, your brain might tell you that you will always live a life of instability. And she's just doing that because she wants to prepare you for that possible outcome, so that if you are better prepared, you will be better able to defend yourself and to respond to it in case it was to happen. The result is that you may overgeneralize the things that happen to you. So, for example, if you live one negative experience, you might overgeneralize and think that you will keep believing negative experiences your entire life, when that is actually not the case. It's just your brain trying to make you safe. Your brain might ignore all the good things that happen to you because she wants you to focus on the negative thing. Because if you focus on the negative things, then you will be able to overcome those difficulties. This is what your brain wants you to do. However, by doing that, you will miss important information about what is actually going on. So we just need to realize that even though we might perceive it in that way, the world is really not out to get us. And for every negative thing that happened to us, we should focus on at least 3 positive things that keep happening in our lives. And if that helps, you could start a gratitude practice, which will really help you focus your attention on the positive things that happens to you, rather than only focusing on the negative things that confirm just a false message from our brain. And finally, mindset shift number 3. Your past won't change, but you can. The reality is, trauma is real, but we can heal from it. And whilst that trauma can leave some permanent scars, going through that adversity and actually overcome it could be a great source of learning and development. The clinical psychologist Edith Shiro, that basically dedicated all her life to support people overcoming traumatic experiences, makes a big distinction between recovering from trauma and experiencing what she calls post-traumatic growth. She highlights that trauma is complicated and going through trauma is complex. However, we can reach post-traumatic growth, so a sense of learning and achievement that follows the adverse circumstances that we experienced, if we are deeply aware of our intention of overcoming the trauma without, and this is very important, without dismissing or downplaying all the challenges that we had to go through because of the trauma itself. She believes that people have the right to have their trauma acknowledged, and at the same time they also have the right to become the narrator of their story rather than the victims. As humans, we are very resilient, and I think the proof of that are all those people that went through horrible life experiences, and not only they managed to survive them, but were also able to move forward. And moving on doesn't mean that what happened to you doesn't matter, because what happened to you will always matter. Moving on just means that your past experiences won't control how you experience life right now. Also, moving on does not mean that you are accepting any blame for what happened to you, because you don't have any blame. You do, however, have responsibility. And having responsibility and accepting that you have responsibility means sliding on the driver's seat of your life and taking over from there. Because the truth is, yes, negative experiences can change your brain. But you know what else can change your brain? You are able to change your brain in the same way as you're able to change your entire life. And this brings us to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know in the comment if you found it helpful. If you did, you can, if you want, leave a thumbs up, as it will really help making the algorithm notice me and help me achieve my goals of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you want to support this channel, you can do so by buying me a digital coffee through the link I have left in the description box, or you could buy my Notion planners that are on sale on Etsy, which you will also find in the description box below. If you like this video, you should also watch my video on how to overcome perfectionism. So I will see you over there, or I will see you in the next video. Bye!